Have you ever been trusted with something so big it changed the way you saw yourself? Clare Hastings was just a quiet executive assistant in a steel and glass tower of power, until one night her billionaire boss called her into his office, locked the door, and asked her to help stop a betrayal that could collapse an entire company. But what he really needed was someone he could trust more than anyone else in the world. Claire said yes, not knowing it would drag her into a world of espionage, deception, and dangerous secrets, not knowing it would put her heart on the line. What would you do if the person you trusted most was also the one hiding the biggest lie? This is not just a story about power or betrayal. It is about the moment when everything changes, and a woman must choose who she is, when no one else can decide for her. Stay with us. You will not forget Clare Hastings. The rain had been falling all evening, a soft, steady rhythm that wrapped the city of Chicago in a kind of tired hush. It was the kind of night that made people stay in. Lights dimmed low, coffee warmed, a book half read on the table. That was where Clare Hastings had planned to be. She lived in a modest one-bedroom apartment in Lakeview East. Her space was tidy. The walls were painted a warm cream. She liked muted things, uncomplicated, the kind of place where you could breathe after a long day. At 10:13 p.m., her phone rang. She looked at the screen. The name made her sit up straight. Ethan Caldwell. She hesitated, only for a breath. Then she answered. "Hello." His voice was low, firm, but different somehow. "Claire, I need you to come to the office. Now, something has come up." She blinked at the rain tapping gently on her window. "It is after 10, Mr. Caldwell. I know the time. This cannot wait. Use the side entrance. Take the private elevator. Do not talk to anyone." Then silence. He ended the call. Claire sat there for a few seconds. She looked at the phone in her hand as if it might explain something, but it said nothing. So she stood. She pulled on a black trench coat, buttoned it up to the collar, slipped her work heels back on. No makeup, no pretense. She grabbed her purse and her keys and stepped into the hallway. The sound of her door clicking shut behind her was sharp in the quiet. Downtown was nearly empty. A few taxis moved like shadows on the slick roads. Her cab driver did not speak, and she was grateful. She had questions, but none of them were meant for a stranger. When she reached Caldwell & Co., the building loomed against the night sky like a cathedral of glass and ambition. Claire had worked there for almost 5 years. She had seen Ethan Caldwell rise from a startup founder to one of the most sought-after voices in tech finance. He was brilliant, demanding, private, and someone she had kept a careful distance from, until now. The side entrance was unlocked, just as he said. Inside, the lobby was dim. The main lights were off, leaving only the soft glow of emergency panels. The security guard barely glanced up from his station, but he nodded at her like he knew. She walked to the executive elevator. Her phone buzzed. Code 1934. She entered it. The doors closed. The elevator began to rise, smooth and silent. She counted the floors. 37, 38, 40. Her heart beat harder with each one. When she stepped out on the top floor, everything was still. Too still. The hallway lights were on but low. The carpet muffled her steps. She passed familiar offices, all closed and dark. She had walked this hall hundreds of times, but never like this. At the far end stood the door to Ethan Caldwell's private office. She knocked once. "Come in." His voice came through the door like it always did. Calm, measured. Claire opened the door slowly. The room was lit with just one lamp, casting long shadows on the walls. Ethan stood near the window, looking out over the city. He did not turn around right away. She stepped inside. He turned and walked past her. Then, without a word, he locked the door behind them. The sound of the lock turning echoed in the room. Claire's breath caught. "Mr. Caldwell, sit down. Claire." She looked at him. His face was pale, his jaw tense. His eyes, usually unreadable, held something she had never seen before. Fear. She sat. He walked slowly to his desk, but did not sit. "I am sorry for the hour, but there is no one else I can call." She said nothing. He looked at her, like he was choosing his next words very carefully. "Do you trust me, Claire?" The question hung in the air. She looked at him for a long moment. "I work for you." "That is not what I asked." Her hands folded in her lap. She looked down at them, then up. "Yes, I do." He exhaled. It sounded like he had been holding that breath all night. "Then, I need to tell you something. And once I do, your life will not be the same." He walked to a panel behind a bookshelf, pressed his hand against a flat section of wood. There was a soft click. A drawer slid open. He pulled out a manila folder, thick, labeled in red, Mosaic. He placed it on the table between them. "This is the reason you are here." She looked at the folder, then back at him. "And the reason I could not sleep tonight." The storm outside grew heavier. Rain streaked across the glass like tears. Inside that quiet room, with a locked door and two people who had worked side by side but never truly seen each other, everything was about to change. The rain had not stopped. It whispered against the windows like a secret that refused to be silenced. Claire stared at the folder labeled Mosaic. The bold red letters made her feel cold. Ethan stood beside the table. His hands rested on the surface, firm, but not rigid. There was something in his posture that looked heavier than usual. She reached for the folder slowly. "Can I open it?" He nodded once. Inside were printed documents, charts, maps, photographs. None of them made immediate sense, but the names, the signatures, the dollar signs, they made her chest tighten. She looked up. "What is this?" Ethan walked to the window, again. The back of his suit jacket caught the lamplight, but his face was lost in shadow. Mosaic is a project we developed in complete secrecy. Not even our board knows the full scope. Claire turned another page. "What does it do?" "It watches money, in real time, on a global scale." She blinked. "You mean, like fraud detection?" Ethan shook his head. "No, not just fraud. Mosaic uses adaptive machine learning. It can trace market manipulation, artificial trades, false indexes, even government-backed laundering. If someone moves money with the intent to deceive, Mosaic can see it, even before the banks do." Claire sat back slowly. That kind of power, it was beyond anything she had heard of. She looked at one document with a heat map of financial activity across 6 countries, dated 3 days ago. "Why are you showing this to me?" Ethan finally turned around. His face was pale, his eyes darker than usual. "Because someone is trying to steal it." The words felt like ice on her skin. He walked toward his desk, opened a drawer, pulled out a second folder. He placed it beside the first. Inside were photographs, black and white, surveillance shots. Claire looked at them. A man in a gray suit, a woman with a briefcase, another figure standing near the elevator, all familiar spaces in their office building. "Who are they?" Ethan's voice dropped lower. We do not know all of them. Yet, but they have appeared multiple times. No appointments, no records, no digital trail. They are good at hiding. He pointed to a still image from the building's parking garage. That man was seen following one of our analysts. She quit the next day. Claire kept flipping the pages, each one heavier than the last. And you think someone from inside is working with them? Ethan nodded. Yes. She looked up at him. And you brought me here for what, to warn me? He sat down for the first time. No, I brought you here to ask for your help. Claire frowned. Help with what exactly? Ethan leaned forward. His elbows rested on the desk. He looked directly into her eyes. I need someone I can trust. She said nothing. He waited. Then he added softly, and I trust you more than anyone else here. Claire blinked, surprised by the weight of those words. Why? His gaze did not move. Because in 4 years, you have never made a move that served yourself over this company. You see things others miss. You do not play politics. You keep your word. He paused. And because, when I hired you, I had you vetted. Claire stared. You what? Ethan remained calm, but his voice had lost its usual sharpness. I had you background checked, not just your resume, everything. Her stomach dropped. You investigated me. It was not personal. I needed to be sure. Her mouth felt dry. Sure of what? He looked down for a second, then back at her. I knew Mosaic would change everything. I needed someone on the inside who had no hidden loyalties, no silent ambitions, someone clean. You were that person. Claire leaned back. The chair creaked softly. She felt like the floor beneath her was shifting. So, all this time, I was not just an assistant. He hesitated. No, you were more than that, even if you did not know it. She looked down at the photos again. People in corridors she knew by heart. The idea of betrayal walking through those halls made her feel something she had not felt in years. Fear. Real, quiet fear. The kind that seeps into your thoughts and stays. What do you want me to do, Ethan? His voice dropped lower. I need you to get close to them. Her breath caught. He kept talking. They are looking for someone inside, someone who feels left out, overlooked, smart enough to matter, bitter enough to sell. And you want that person to be me, not the real you, but the version they will believe. She stood, walked to the window. Below, the streets were shiny with rain. The city moved slowly, like it knew something was coming. You want me to become a lie? I want you to help me stop something terrible before it begins. She stayed quiet. Ethan rose, stood beside her. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, she whispered, Why now? Why me? He looked at her, his voice barely audible. Because they are getting close, and because I trust you, not just with Mosaic, but with everything. Outside, the rain fell harder. Inside, Claire felt something changing, not just in the room, but inside her. Something she could not name yet, but it would not go away. The air in the office had changed. Claire could feel it. It was not just the silence. It was the weight of what had been said. The folder, the photographs, the trust Ethan claimed to have in her. She stood by the window, hands folded in front of her. The rain outside was softer now, more like a whisper than a warning. Ethan had not moved from his place near the desk. He gave her space. That, at least, he understood. You want me to pretend I am someone I am not, she said finally. Her voice was low. but steady. I am not a spy, Ethan. I do not know how to lie. Not like that. He nodded slowly. I know. That is what makes you the perfect person to do it. Claire turned to face him. Her eyes searched his, looking for something she could hold on to. I am an assistant. I schedule meetings. I organize data. I keep things running. That is what I do. Ethan stepped closer. Not too close. You do more than that. Always have. But this, she shook her head gently. This is something else entirely. He did not argue. Instead, he picked up the Mosaic folder again. He opened it to a page near the back, a chart, names, accounts, transfers. These are real, and they are dangerous. The people behind this do not just want to steal technology. They want to break the systems that hold everything together. Claire looked at the chart, then at him. And you think I can stop that? I think you might be our only chance. Her hands tightened. A long pause passed between them. Then she asked, what exactly would I have to do? Ethan breathed in slowly, his voice lowered. We will create a cover story. You will appear disillusioned, frustrated, a rising star who feels stuck, passed over for promotion, underpaid, undervalued. Claire raised an eyebrow. That will not be hard to believe. He gave a soft smile. That is the point. He walked to a locked cabinet near the back wall, entered a code. Inside were several files, devices, a slim black phone, a wallet. He took out a single folder and handed it to her. She opened it. A different name stared back at her. Clara Hartwell, born in Ohio, finance degree from Georgetown, worked for Caldwell & Co. for 6 years, promoted once, then plateaued. It was her, but not. How long have you had this ready? Ethan did not answer right away. Long enough to know it would be needed eventually. Claire's jaw tightened. So, you planned this? No, I prepared for it. She walked across the room, slowly. Her heels made soft sounds against the floor. Do you have any idea what you are asking me to do? Yes. You want me to risk my life, my future, everything I have built. I know. She turned sharply. Why not someone else? One of your analysts, your legal team, someone trained for this. Because they will not get in the door. These people are too smart. They know who is clean and who is not. They watch patterns, behavior, access levels. You are invisible to them, and that is your greatest strength. Claire let the words sink in. She looked down at the folder in her hand. Clara Hartwell. She did not know who that woman was. Not yet. She walked back to the desk, set the folder down gently. And what happens if they believe me? Ethan looked at her carefully. Then they will test you. They will ask for something small, something that feels safe. A client name, a list, numbers that look meaningless. And they will be watching your every move. Claire sat back down. She felt tired. But this is not what I signed up for. Ethan, I wanted to work hard, stay out of trouble, do good work, go home. He sat across from her. And I wanted to build something that mattered, something honest. But here we are. There was a long silence. Claire stared at the Mosaic folder, at the fake name on the ID card. Then she said, I have one condition. Ethan leaned in slightly. Name it. When this is over, I want the truth. All of it. Not just about Mosaic. About you. About what we really do here. He nodded. You will have it. She looked at him closely. And I want to walk away if I need to. No questions. No guilt. You will have that too. Claire stood. She picked up the folder, walked toward the door. Ethan rose quietly and unlocked it. She paused before stepping out, then said softly, "I am not brave, Ethan." He looked at her. "Maybe not, but you are not afraid of the right things, and that matters more." She walked out into the hallway. The soft lights buzzed overhead. Behind her, the door clicked shut. In her hand, the folder felt heavier than anything she had ever carried, but she did not let go. Claire stood in front of the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked the same, but something had shifted. It was not the tailored blazer or the new pair of glasses that made her pause. It was the way her shoulders sat higher, tighter, like they were carrying something invisible. The apartment Ethan had arranged for her was on the west side of the city. Temporary, plain, one bedroom, no memories, no history, just a place to hide in plain sight. She had been there for 3 days, every morning. She followed a routine designed by the firm's internal security team. Role play, phrasing, eye contact, deviation handling. They gave her a new background. She practiced it like lines from a play. Her family was from Dayton. She left a job in Boston. She hated the Caldwell board. She was brilliant but overlooked. That last part did not take much pretending. Claire sat at the small desk by the window and reviewed her new documents again. Driver license, corporate ID badge, bank records, even an old photo with a fake college roommate. Clara Hartwell. She whispered the name once out loud. It felt strange on her tongue. At night, she read, not fiction, but reports, patterns of past infiltrations, behavioral red flags, warnings. She learned what would give her away. A pause too long, a look of sympathy, a reflex to tell the truth. It was harder than she expected. Claire had always relied on what was real, what was in front of her. She had no use for pretense. Now, she was supposed to become a mask. There was a knock on the door that afternoon. She opened it. A woman stood there with short, dark hair and a neutral expression. "Angela from compliance," the woman said. Claire stepped aside. Angela walked in, glanced around, then placed a small black device on the table. She tapped once. "Now we can speak freely. This space is secure." Claire nodded. Angela looked at her. "How are you holding up?" Claire thought for a moment. "I am tired." Angela's mouth twitched slightly. "Good. That means you are thinking. Not everyone does." She sat down on the edge of the sofa and crossed her legs. "We start light. One meeting. Casual. A known recruiter will approach you. You do not chase them. They chase you. Clear. Clear." Angela handed her a folder. Inside was a profile. Sebastian Rourke, a man in his late 30s, sharp suits, Ivy League smile, a record too clean to be real. He works through whispers, always testing the ground. If he believes you are real, the others will follow. Claire studied the photo. He had that look, the kind of man who remembered everything you said, even the things you did not mean to say. Angela stood. "You have 48 hours. Dress like you want something, but not too much. Let him ask questions. You do not volunteer anything unless he earns it." Claire nodded. Angela walked to the door. She paused. "And Claire?" Claire looked up. "You are not Claire anymore. You know that, right?" "I know." Angela left without another word. Claire sat in silence for a long time. The city outside her window was glowing under the late afternoon sun. Children ran through sprinklers on the street below. Someone laughed down the hall. Life continued, as if everything was normal. She walked to the mirror again, brushed her hair back, practiced a smile that looked a little more tired, a little more bitter. She whispered the name again. Clara. She did not recognize the sound. That night, she wrote in a small notebook, something she had started doing to hold on to herself. Day 3, still me, I think. But she is getting closer. She waits in the mirror, in my voice, in how I speak about things I used to love. I wonder how far I can go before I cannot come back. She closed the book, turned off the light, and for the first time since this began, she dreamed of nothing at all. The hotel bar was quieter than she expected. Dim lights, soft jazz, humming low from ceiling speakers. A few patrons dotted across leather booths, well-dressed, discreet, the kind of place where conversations never left the table. Claire sat at the far end of the bar. She wore a fitted red dress, one shade deeper than wine, not flashy, just enough to suggest something had shifted in her. Her hair was pinned loosely, glasses off, a small necklace glimmered at her collarbone, something borrowed from the wardrobe prepared for Clara Hartwell. She ordered a martini, dry, no olive. She scrolled on her phone with intention, not truly reading, just moving, waiting, watching the mirror behind the bar. At 7:18 p.m., he appeared, Sebastian Rourke. He wore gray, always gray. They had told her. A tailored suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, clean-shaven, hair slicked back, but not overdone. He approached the bar slowly, ordered whiskey, neat, then glanced sideways. You look like someone waiting for a decision. His voice was smooth. Just the right mix of curiosity and distance. Claire turned slightly. Just enough. Maybe I am. He took the seat beside her. Care to share? She sipped her drink. Only if you have more than polite small talk. A soft smile curved his mouth. I can manage that. He leaned back on his stool, studying her. You work in finance. It was not a question. I used to. And now? Now I drink overpriced cocktails and wonder what went wrong. Sebastian chuckled. Sounds familiar. He took a slow sip of whiskey, then nodded at her glass. Bad day? Bad year? Let me guess. You were promised a promotion. You delivered results. Outperformed your peers. Then someone less qualified got the seat. Claire blinked slowly. You are either very observant, or you have said that to someone else before. Both. A brief silence. Then she asked, And what do you do? He smiled. I connect people, those who are talented but unappreciated, with opportunities where they are seen, valued, compensated properly. Claire looked at him directly. You mean poaching? He shrugged. I mean possibilities. Her eyes narrowed, just a touch. And how do you know I am worth the effort? Sebastian tilted his head. Because you are here, alone, on a Tuesday, in a bar mostly filled with ghosts. Because you ordered a drink that says you want to be noticed, but not approached. He paused. And because I have read your name before. Claire stiffened. Just slightly. My name, Clara Hartwell. He said it slowly. Teston. She recovered with a small smile. Then I hope what you read was accurate. He leaned closer. Your profile says you handled client analytics at Caldwell, that you sat in on strategy meetings but never spoke, that your insights showed up in other people's reports. You were used, not recognized. She laughed softly. And let me guess, you are the savior. No, he said. I am the mirror. You decide what you want to see. That made her pause. He studied her carefully, as if he had all the time in the world. You are not in a hurry to leave that company, are you? Claire looked down at her glass. No. Then why are you still there? She thought for a moment. Because I was hoping someone would finally notice. That they would say, we were wrong. You deserve better. And they never did. He nodded once, then reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a silver business card, plain, clean, no logo, just a name and number. He slid it across the bar. If you are tired of being invisible, call me. Claire took the card, her fingers held it lightly. She met his eyes again. And if I do, what happens next? Sebastian finished his whiskey, set the glass down carefully. You meet people who see you, who value you, who pay more than lip service. Then he stood. Good night, Clara. And just like that, he walked out. No drama, no theatrics, just footsteps fading into the hallway. Claire sat for a while longer. She touched the edge of the card with one finger, then tucked it into her clutch. She reached for her phone, opened a text draft to Angela. Contact made, no signs of suspicion. Full control maintained. She did not send it yet. Instead, she looked at her reflection in the mirror behind the bar. The woman in red, eyes sharp, shoulders steady. She whispered under her breath, not invisible anymore. The second meeting happened 2 nights later. It took place at a rooftop lounge in River North. The lights were dim and warm. Golden strands hung above them, like lazy constellations. Music played low in the background. It was not jazz this time, just soft notes floating like mist. Claire was still Clara Hartwell. She arrived 10 minutes early. Her blouse was black silk, elegant, intentional. Her hair was down this time, not tightly pulled back like before. She looked softer, slightly more worn. It was part of the design. Angela had explained it that morning. They expect to see change. The first meeting raises the question. The second begins to answer it. At exactly 7:37 p.m. Sebastian appeared. He walked straight to the table. No greeting, no smile. Claire knew not to offer, either. This time, he was not alone. He was joined by 2 others. A woman with silver hair and a gaze like a blade, mid-40s, clean lines in her suit, no jewelry, and a younger man, late 20s, maybe, lean, alert. His hands never left his lap. Sebastian made a brief introduction. This is Catherine Sloan. She leads strategic expansion. Catherine gave a nod that felt like a test. And this is Daniel. Daniel said nothing. His eyes did all the talking. Claire nodded once to each of them. The conversation started light. Trends in finance, the shift in corporate culture, things anyone could find in the news. But the tone changed quickly. Catherine tilted her head. Tell me, Clara. Why now? Claire met her eyes. Because I waited for things to change. They did not. That sounds like disappointment, Catherine said. Not anger. Claire held her gaze. Anger was last year. This is something else. Sebastian leaned forward, his voice quiet. Then tell us. What do you want? Claire took a slow breath. I want my work to matter again. I want to stop giving away my best ideas to people who see me as a support beam, not a builder. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was cold, but curious. That sounds like someone ready to burn bridges. Claire raised one brow. Some bridges need to burn. That is the only way you see what is on the other side. The table went quiet. Then Catherine smiled. But it was not warm. It was precise. We may have a small task. Consider it a trial. Claire leaned forward. Just slightly. I am listening. There is a list, Catherine said. Names of Caldwell's defense clients. Just a snapshot. Contract values. Nothing classified. Claire kept her face still. Why that list? We are studying movement. Internal patterns. This data could clarify a few things. Claire gave the answer Angela had prepared her for. I do not have direct access, but I can get close. I know who to talk to. Sebastian nodded once. That is enough for now. Daniel reached into his jacket. He placed a single business card on the table. It only had a number. Claire picked it up, slipped it into her purse. After that, they talked about lighter things. Who was merging with whom? Which company had made an embarrassing investment? They laughed, sipped wine, but Claire felt it. The shift. She was no longer on the outside. She was inside something now, something bigger, and she could not see all of it. That night, back at the apartment, she sat with the lights off. The silence was not peaceful. It was heavy. She opened her notebook, the one with the soft gray cover. Day 7. I watched myself lie tonight. I watched them believe me. And worse, I felt good about it. There is a thrill in being heard, in being needed. I do not miss my old desk, but I do miss being someone I recognize. She closed the notebook. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Angela. They bought it. Good work. Be ready for next phase. Stay alert. Claire turned the phone over. Then she got up, walked to the window, opened it. The city smelled of pavement and distant rain. Somewhere below, a dog barked, a siren passed, life continued, but she felt distant from it, like she was watching from behind glass. She whispered to herself, stay alert, but deep down, she already knew this was no longer acting. The following day started like any other, emails, meetings, coffee with too much cream. Claire sat at her desk in Caldwell's open plan workspace. The buzz of conversation around her sounded distant, like she was underwater. She was not thinking about numbers, or slides, or deadlines. She was thinking about the card in her purse, and the list they wanted. She had already decided what to do. Angela would send a fabricated version. The data would look real, but would carry embedded markers. Once they shared it with their network, they would be traceable, simple, clean, but nothing about that day stayed simple. Around 3:00 p.m., Claire received a calendar invite, private meeting, executive floor, conference room C, from Ethan, no explanation, no assistant copied. Her heart jumped. She stood up calmly, took the stairs instead of the elevator. She needed the extra moments to breathe. The hallway outside conference room C was quiet. She knocked once. Ethan opened the door himself. His face looked tired, eyes a little darker, hair less perfect than usual. He gestured silently for her to enter. Inside, the room was empty. No laptop, no slides, just Ethan. And something different in his eyes. I need to ask you something, he said, but I want the truth. All of it. Claire sat down slowly. What is this about? Ethan sat across from her, folded his hands on the table. I know things at Caldwell have been tense, the layoffs, the budget reviews. You have been quiet, distant. She stayed silent. I just need to know if you are still with us, if I can still trust you. Claire felt her stomach tighten. The room was too still. Her voice stayed calm. You know me, Ethan. That is why I am asking, he said. Because I do. And something feels wrong. She wanted to believe this was just worry, just concern, but there was something else behind his words. A pause, a shift. He leaned forward. I saw you the other night, he said. River North. Rooftop bar. You were not alone. Claire froze. She had not seen him there. Who was I with? She asked carefully. A man. 2 others joined later. Looked like a meeting, but not for work. Claire searched for a lie, a safe version. She found none. Ethan continued, I asked security to check camera logs, not because I want to trap you, because I need to know what is going on. He reached into his pocket, placed a small drive on the table. This has footage. From that night, I did not show anyone else. Claire did not touch the drive. Instead, she asked softly, Why are you telling me this? Because, he said, and his voice broke slightly, because I care about you, and I need to believe you have a reason for whatever this is. His eyes met hers, and there was pain there, genuine pain, not just from betrayal, from fear, from love. Claire felt something shift in her chest, and yet, deep down, something else rose, a question, a whisper. What if Ethan was not just worried? What if he knew more than he claimed? She stood slowly. I cannot explain everything, she said. Not yet. Ethan stood too. I am not the enemy. Claire. I hope not, she replied. She left without taking the drive. That night, Claire met Angela at a parking garage in Lincoln Park. Angela leaned against a silver sedan, arms crossed, serious face. He is watching you, Claire said. He knows about the rooftop. Angela's face hardened. We expected surveillance, but not this soon. Claire paced. There is more. She told Angela everything. The meeting, the questions, the footage. Angela listened in silence. When Claire finished, Angela spoke carefully. There is something I have not told you. Claire stopped walking. Angela continued. Ethan is not just your boss or your past. He is under investigation. Claire blinked. What Angela looked at her directly. For potential involvement in intelligence leaks, nothing confirmed. But there are flags, money movement, offshore meetings. We were watching him before we watched you. Claire stepped back. The air felt thinner. You think he is part of it? We do not know yet. But if he is, you are closer than anyone. That makes you an asset. And a target. Claire said nothing. Her mind spun. Was it possible? Was Ethan part of the network she was infiltrating? Or was he being framed? She looked at Angela. I need to know the truth. About him. Angela nodded once. Then find it. Later that night. Claire walked the city alone. No disguise, no cover story, just herself. She remembered his voice. I need to believe you have a reason. She did. But now, she needed a reason to believe him. The next morning came quietly. Gray light leaked through the curtains. The air smelled like toast from someone's kitchen nearby. City sounds stirred below buses braking, heels tapping on pavement, life moving. Claire had not slept. She sat at her small table, a chipped coffee mug in her hands. The coffee had gone cold. The drive Ethan left still sat in front of her, unplugged, untouched. Her fingers hovered over it for a long moment. Then she pushed it away. Some things could not be unseen. But the choice was not hers, alone anymore. Angela had made that clear. Ethan was not just a question mark. He was a suspect. And Claire was the only one close enough to confirm it. She took a long breath, got dressed slowly, picked a dark navy blouse, her quiet armor, put on flats instead of heels. She wanted to move easily, quietly. Then she walked to Caldwell headquarters, past the same coffee truck, past the same receptionist. Nothing outside had changed, but inside, everything had shifted. Ethan's office was on the top floor, glass panels, warm wood, a view that made the city feel small. He was already there, reading, or pretending to. He looked up when she entered. There was something tired in his smile. Claire. She said nothing, just closed the door behind her. No one else was there, just them, and everything between them. You knew they were watching me, she said. It was not a question. Ethan did not flinch. Yes. That single word hit harder than she expected. Why did you not say anything? Because I did not know if it was true, he said. Still do not. Claire stepped closer. But you suspected? He nodded. They approached me months ago, quietly, said there were patterns in our contracts, flags, they wanted to monitor. I agreed, figured it would clear itself, and if it did not, she asked. Ethan looked at her, then said slowly, then at least I would know who I could trust. Claire felt heat rise in her chest. So you tested me. No, I watched you. That is different. No, Ethan, it is not. Silence stretched. Ethan stood and walked to the window, hands in his pockets, shoulders stiff. I made choices. Maybe bad ones. Maybe necessary ones. Claire's voice shook slightly. Are you selling our tech to unauthorized buyers? Ethan turned. His face was unreadable. I approved gray area deals. Nothing illegal. Nothing dangerous. Define gray area. Government adjacent, intelligence related. Nothing I would not defend. She stared at him. So you are saying, what that your hands are mostly clean. He took a step forward. I am saying that I tried to protect what I built, and I never lied to you. Claire swallowed. But you did not tell me the truth either. Ethan's voice dropped low. I did not want you involved. Her eyes burned. I already am. Another silence. He moved closer, reached for her hand, but she stepped back, not angrily, just slowly. I do not know who you are anymore, she said. Ethan looked like she had struck him. Then his expression hardened. Maybe you do not want to. That was the final cut. She turned to leave, but he spoke again, softly. Claire, please. She stopped, waited. I did what I thought was right, he said, but if you think I have crossed a line I cannot return from, then I will not stop you from walking away. Claire turned around, looked at him, really looked. Not the mentor, not the man she once loved, just a person, flawed, brilliant, and maybe broken. Her voice was quiet. I do not know what I believe anymore, but I am tired of half-truths. She walked out without another word. That night, she met Angela in the park near the Riverwalk. Angela handed her a small envelope. This came through a secure source. Foreign transfers, offshore accounts. Ethan's name is linked. Claire opened the file, stared at the numbers, the routing codes, the dates, and then one name, Catherine Sloan, the silver-haired woman from the rooftop meeting. Angela spoke, softly. They are connected. The meeting was no accident. Claire closed the file. Everything inside her trembled. Ethan had known more than he said, and she had just walked away from the one person who might have told her the truth. Or had he? She looked up at the sky, stars hidden behind light. A plane blinked slowly as it passed overhead. Claire spoke without looking at Angela. What do I do now? Angela answered with no hesitation. You finish this. The warehouse sat at the edge of the industrial district, fenced off, forgotten by most. To the world, it was just a metal shell, rusting quietly among old shipping crates and weeds. But to Claire, it was where the answers waited. Angela had not wanted her to come alone, but Claire insisted. Some truths had to be faced without backup. She parked 2 blocks away, dressed plainly, no jewelry, no bag, just a phone in her coat pocket, set to record. As she approached, she felt her breath tighten. The air smelled of damp metal and distant smoke. Every step echoed. The warehouse door creaked open without resistance. Inside, dim lights flickered overhead, shadows danced, and then a voice. "You are early." Claire turned. Catherine Sloane stepped from the darkness. Calm, cold, impeccable. "You said you wanted answers." Catherine said, "So here we are." Claire stood her ground. "Why me? Why all this?" Catherine smiled. "Because you were always watching, quiet, smart, loyal. Ethan trusted you, and that made you valuable." Claire's chest tightened. "So this was never about me, just about him." Catherine tilted her head. "Is that not always the way men with power, women in their shadows, until they are not?" Claire felt a surge of anger. "You used me." "No," Catherine said. "I recruited you. You just did not know yet." Behind her, two figures emerged. One of them was Robert Hale, a former board member who had resigned quietly 2 years ago. The other was a woman Claire did not recognize, but her stance was military, controlled. Claire took a step back. "You cannot scare me." Catherine nodded. "I do not need to. You are already scared, not of us, of what you are becoming." Claire blinked. "What does that mean?" Robert stepped forward. "It means you are like us. You see, the system is broken. You see how power really works." The unknown woman spoke next. Her voice was clipped. "You think Ethan is a hero? He sold Guardian Core to a foreign ally last year. The modified version, yes. But it opened the door." Claire shook her head. "No, he would never." "He already did," Catherine said. She tossed a thin folder toward Claire. It landed at her feet. Inside wire transfers, contracts, encrypted messages. Her hands trembled as she scanned them. "Why show me this now?" Claire asked. "Because you are at a crossroads," Catherine said. "You can expose us, or you can join us." Claire looked up sharply. "Join you. You want truth," Robert said. "We are the only ones not pretending anymore." Catherine stepped closer. "We offer protection, power, and a purpose." Claire backed away. "You do not want justice. You want control." Catherine's smile faded. "Control is the only way to survive." Claire reached slowly into her coat. Fingers brushed the phone in her pocket. She pressed the button. Live stream activated. Hidden camera on. Just in time, because behind her heavy footsteps and a voice she knew too well, she already made her choice. Claire spun around. Ethan. He stood in the doorway, face pale, jaw clenched. Claire stared. "I thought you were with them," Ethan said. He walked forward. "I was trying to find them." From the inside, Catherine laughed, bitter. "You played both sides, as always." Ethan's voice was low. "I never sold Guardian. I stalled it, delayed every deal, until I could find the leak." He looked at Claire. "You were the only one I trusted." Claire's breath caught. Her voice came out as a whisper. "You lied to me. I had to," he said. "If you knew, they would have seen it in your eyes." Catherine raised a gun. Too late now, but Ethan did not flinch. From his pocket, he pulled a small device, hit a button. Sirens echoed from outside. Red lights flashed through the broken warehouse windows. "FBI!" Claire's heart raced. She ducked as the room exploded in movement, yells, footsteps, chaos. Ethan grabbed her hand. "Run." They sprinted toward the back exit, gunshots behind them. Claire felt a bullet whiz past her shoulder. They burst into the alley behind the warehouse. A van screeched to a stop. Angela opened the side door. "Get in." They dove inside. The door slammed shut. Tires screamed as they sped away. Inside the van, silence returned. Ethan leaned against the wall. bleeding slightly. Claire stared at him. The words came out slowly. So, you are not the villain. Ethan gave a weak smile. Not today. Angela handed Claire a water bottle. You got it on camera? Claire nodded. It went live. Everything. Angela leaned back. Well done. Claire did not smile. She looked at Ethan again, then closed her eyes. Everything hurt, not just her body, but her trust, her certainty, her idea of right and wrong. That night, Claire sat alone in her apartment. The city outside kept glowing, moving, unchanged. But she was changed. The girl who once believed in rules and loyalty had disappeared. In her place stood someone else. Not broken, just awakened. She poured a glass of wine, opened her laptop, and began to write her report. Not just for Angela, but for herself. The truth. The whole, complicated, painful truth. 6 months later, the city looked the same, but Claire did not. She no longer carried the same weight behind her eyes. And yet, she was not lighter either, just steadier. That spring, she opened a small office on the 3rd floor of a weathered brick building in the Back Bay district of Boston. A desk, a window, a coffee machine that always smelled a little burnt, and peace. She named the firm CH Ethics Consulting. Her clients were quiet, careful, companies that had survived the headlines and wanted to do better. She helped them navigate gray areas because now Claire knew what it meant to live in them. Angela stopped by sometimes, brought bagels, laughed easily. You know, she said one morning, you could be working for the federal government full-time. Claire sipped her coffee. I could, but this feels quieter. Angela raised an eyebrow. You say that like it is a good thing. Claire smiled. It is. For now. The news about the Guardian Corps case made headlines for weeks. Catherine Sloan was in federal custody. Robert Hale, too. The unknown woman had vanished. Interpol still searched. Winchester Industries survived the storm. Barely. The board was reshaped. Transparency policies were enforced. And Ethan. He disappeared from public view after the hearings. Some said he moved to Vermont. Others, Switzerland. Claire never checked. Until the first week of October. He walked through the door of her office like it was any other Tuesday. Same navy coat, same tired eyes. She looked up from her laptop, calm. You are 2 months late, she said. Ethan nodded. I needed time. She closed the laptop. Did you find what you were looking for? Ethan exhaled, sat down. I am not sure. I think I found who I was pretending not to be. Claire leaned back in her chair. And who is that? Someone who built an empire on good intentions. And learned that was not enough. She studied him. He looked older, worn, but clearer, too. What do you want from me, Ethan? He paused. To see if there is still anything left to rebuild. Claire was quiet. The hum of traffic outside softened the silence between them. She stood and walked to the window. The leaves had turned amber and rust. The sky was pale blue. You know, she said, for a long time, I thought you were the most brilliant man I had ever met. Ethan said nothing. And then I realized brilliance without integrity burns too hot. She turned to face him. But maybe, just maybe, you have learned how to carry that flame differently. Ethan stood. I am still learning. Claire nodded. So am I. He walked toward the door, hand on the knob, then paused. I do not expect anything. Not now, but someday. Claire interrupted gently. If that day comes, we will both know it. Ethan smiled faintly. I hope so. And then he left. That night, Claire sat by her window. The city lights blinked like distant stars. In her hands was an old photo, one of her and Ethan during a company retreat. She looked younger, brighter, but she did not miss that version of herself. Not anymore. Because now, she knew what it meant to lose yourself, to fight for clarity, to rebuild with gentleness, not just strength. She lit a candle, wrote a note to a friend, replied to a client email, small things, real things. And outside, the autumn wind carried no secrets, only change, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something honest. Sometimes, life brings us choices we never asked for. Clare Hastings never wanted to be a hero. She never planned to carry the weight of a secret that could change lives. But when the moment came, she said yes, not because she was fearless, but because she knew who she wanted to be. In life, we all face moments like this, moments that ask us to choose between safety and truth, between silence and integrity. This story is not just about danger or love. It is about courage, the quiet kind, the kind that happens when no one is watching. It reminds us that trust is fragile, that power without principle is dangerous, and that sometimes walking away is the strongest thing we can do. No matter your age, it is never too late to choose what kind of person you want to be. Not the one others expect, but the one you respect when you look in the mirror. Because in the end, peace is not about having less to carry. It is about carrying only what matters. Thank you for spending your time with this story. If it touched your heart, if it reminded you of something real, please consider liking this video. Share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that speak to the soul. Your support helps us keep telling what truly matters. From our hearts to yours, thank you.